Chef Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel. We've got two bright brains on the bench today. Speaking about the state of corruption, Ahmed Nassir Abdullahi, Senior Counsel, former Commissioner at the JSC. Yes, he's also the publisher of Nairobi Law Monthly. And Nairobi Business Monthly also still on? Yeah, all right, Nairobi Business Monthly. His Twitter handle is @Ahmed Nassir Law. The man in the middle is the bullfighter from Ikolomani, Senator from Kakamega. He's noble. Senator Boni Khalwale, and his Twitter handle is @Boni Mtetezi. Mine @Koinange. Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. Keep the tweets coming as we talk about this horrific state that we are in. Senator Mumias, you were telling me a short while ago, the shutting down of Mumias affects plus minus 6 million people. That's like everybody who lives in Nairobi.
Yes.
Shut down.
Yes.
Thieves are laughing all the way to the bank. They've stolen, they've raped this company dry.
Yes.
Government says it wants to pump in another 5 billion in there. Isn't that throwing good money after bad? And nobody's talking about the people who have stolen.
Yes, before I respond to that, I think Ahmed has raised a very important issue, namely that the National Assembly has been captured by the executive. And I had said earlier on that President Kibaki and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga gave me space. They gave Parliament space. And Ahmed seems to think that Parliament is not fighting for its own space. I want to beg to disagree, for the reason that President Uhuru went and created a leader in the National Assembly, the leader of the majority, who is an absolute sycophant. Then he created Speaker Muturi, who is another absolute sycophant. And in those two strokes, Parliament was gone. And then they followed it up by ensuring that they make chairs of committees people who they could manipulate. Somebody might ask, why do you say that when Ababu belongs to the CORD, which is the opposition? But I have a history of the threat of corruption in this country. And I know that in my earlier life, I was able to investigate the vice president, the deputy president, the current deputy president on matters of maize, and some of the people in the opposition who now have leadership positions were actually some of the people that my efforts were defeated to capture. So until Duale stops being a sycophant of the president and Muturi the same, will go nowhere in the National Assembly.
Can
I
make, before you do, let me also make a small clarification.
Yes.
And I think it's fair that I think I should withdraw when I said the executive has captured, because it's not fair to the executive. I think the right thing is to say that Muturi has handed over Parliament to the executive.
That is not even kind.
Is Muturi the problem? Is that what you guys are saying? Is he the problem?
It's not a case of the executive grabbing.
Yeah, he's just giving it.
Just giving it.
Would this have happened under Kaparo?
We don't know.
Marende?
But Marende proved himself. He was the speaker who worked under the most difficult circumstances, because to become speaker, he relied purely on ODM and its alliances. And when he came into office, here was a situation whereby his boss was half the president. But he stood his ground. He might have made mistakes, but many people, locally and internationally, still use some of his rulings as a point of reference.
Is Muturi the problem?
Muturi is a very big problem. And Muturi, we have been in Parliament with Muturi for 5 years. The Muturi who was deputy leader of the opposition behind Dr. Bonaya Kodana, when President Uhuru then handed over to them, is not the Muturi we are seeing today. By the way, Muturi and his learned friend is here, will prove this. Muturi is a very brilliant man. He has just refused to exercise his intellectual persuasion to me.
Okay, answer the question about Mumias.
Yes. Now, as far as Mumias is concerned, Mumias will not move, because the corruption which is killing Mumias is not the corruption that was perpetuated by former managers. The corruption that arises from the sugar trade at the international level is the one which is the biggest problem. Today, unknown to many Kenyans, the army generals who are an occupation force in Somalia, who should have left Somalia as soon as yesterday, they are no longer there for purposes of defense. They are doing trade. They are trading in sugar.
Commodities.
And other commodities.
In Somalia?
In Somalia. So they allow the sugar to come from Somalia and other contraband goods. They pass through our border points, and this is the sugar that is the problem to Mumias Sugar Company. The only sad thing is that they do that in connivance with the managers at Mumias Sugar Company. It is therefore not surprising that the member of parliament who today admitted on Cheche that he received 4 million shillings, he said he does transport and he comes from the same region. I would not be surprised if the business that this man does is actually transportation of contraband sugar. Now to come specifically to the problem in Mumias. The former managers, there is the KPMG report, audit report, which they were not willing, the current managers were not willing to release. I had to storm the factory, myself, my security, and some of the local leaders, Mr. Mutovero, Mr. David Wamadi, and others. We stormed the factory to get that audit report released. And when it was released, it confirmed that former managers, led by none other than Dr. Evans Kidero of the governor of Nairobi, are the ones who have fleeced that company. If ESCC is up to it, what are they waiting for? I went to the office of Matemo, thanks, he received me. We sat for 1 hour and he ran me through on what he's doing to arrest Akina Kidero. He has not done it.
And Kidero has said in public, in several interviews, one after the other, he keeps saying, it didn't happen under my watch. That was not under my watch.
You know, there is no honor amongst African thieves. At least the white thieves are honorable. A point reaches when they admit and they apologize.
And they resign.
And they resign. At this stage, what we expect Kidero to be doing is to feel ashamed. Instead of talking big and looking for big lawyers to pay them to take people to court, take the company to court, he should be ashamed that even the lawyers, some of them who are defending them today, we have information that one of them, who is a professor of law, was paid to the tune of, has made up to 800 million shillings in defending Kidero in all those cases.
A lawyer? Like the Grand Mullah, a lawyer like him?
Yes, yes. And on one of
Are you sure it's not you?
I'm not Kidero's lawyer.
Who is
No,
the
but I think the point that Senate is making, which is very important, is this country has, as I said, systemic problem. Let us not emphasize a lot on the incidents. Mumia is a tragic incident, but there are so many Mumias, you know, all over the country. One scam after another. It's only that when it explodes, that it becomes a national issue. But until we fix the system, for example, I tell guys, this is a country without CID. Nobody investigates crimes nowadays. Nobody. Yes. Unlike the 60s or 70s or 80s, nowadays, even if someone steals small things from you, it's difficult to investigate because the CID are preoccupied with something. Everybody has become a traffic policeman. So let us fix the system. Even I tell guys, today you have seen in the newspapers the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission in the last 10 years convicted only 2 people. The DPP.
10 years.
What for the billions we give?
What is the conviction rate, for example, of the DPP's office? Nobody looks into those things. So this is a country where when you commit an offense, nothing happens to you. And if that is a country like that, it can't survive. It will collapse. Because, look at, for example, all these issues that Kidero is being accused for. There must be an investigation. If it is true, he must be charged. If he is charged, we must know how long that case will go on, and we must know the result. Nowadays, when there is a pressure on the government, they take people to court. Then you don't care what happens after that. It may drag, then after 6 months or 6 years, the case disappears. So a country that does not prosecute, that does not charge, prosecute, and convict thieves and criminals will not survive. It will collapse. And this is where this country is going.
That's what we're heading.
Nobody, who is arrested in this country? If you ask yourself, who? Is there a single politician or a single CEO in the last 30 years that has been jailed, convicted, arrested, and jailed? None.
None. Zero.
And just on the issue of the police, he's talking about there being no CID. I wish Kenyans could open their eyes. As we speak now, vetting of senior police officers is ongoing. And you have seen police officers unable to justify the deposits, the billions and millions they have in their accounts. Yeah. These are the same officers who receive the money when they go and say, okay, I've come to investigate you, Mr. Kidero, and Kidero says, hey, wait a minute, can we meet at XYZ hotel? And they're paid. So one wonders, why would I be the head of government and it doesn't disturb me? I never supported Uhuru in the presidential election, but when he won, I said, anyway, then this is the best person to fight corruption, because at least when I was chairman of public accounts and he was in charge of finance and the other ministries, we never had serious problems with him. Whenever we had a few problems, they pointed to senior leaders in his ministries. And he's a very wealthy person. The family does not have problems with money. We were expecting that this is the man to lead the country in fighting corruption. Look, whereas the Kenyan army is corrupt and the Nigerian army is corrupt, in Kenya we are having problem of Al-Shabaab because of corrupt military. In Nigeria, Boko Haram because of corrupt military. And now when the army of Cameroon, which is not corrupt, went into Nigeria, they killed 200 Boko Haram because they are not corrupt.
Chad.
They went of Chad. They went in and killed 200 Boko Haram. It's a question of leadership. If President Uhuru cannot manage, let him do as the decent thing. He resigns, we go for elections, we get a president who will save our children from the poverty that they live under.
No, but I don't want to say that the senator is not very sincere on this point as it relates to the president. This senator belongs to a party that knows Kidero, the damage he did to Mumias. Then they gave him to the biggest city in this country, and he is using the same template that Mumias was used. And actually, he has, in my view, it's an improvement, because just like these guys on Iraq and Syria, this ISIS,
yes,
who are destroying, certain civilizations. Like Kidero is destroying Nairobi. It's a national security for me. If you look at Nairobi, the capital city, I don't think it can survive 2 more years of this administration. Even some communities, especially in minorities, like Asians, even before the lease expires, they've been evicted from their houses. People's titles are being grabbed. Your house which you are living today, titles are being cooked in City Hall. Yes. So
we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
You're right. On Kidero and messing Nairobi, the senator for Nairobi came to my committee and he has deposited documents which allege, with documentary support of evidence, that the same cartels that were Kidero used to fleece Mumias are now at City Hall. They are using exactly the same template to mess our city. And you cannot blame the party, the coalition code.
You didn't vet him. You didn't vet him.
I'll come there. You cannot blame them, because COD does not have a CID department with a human resource. It doesn't have ESCC. So you can forgive them. As to whether they vetted him, before I came to Parliament, I belonged to somebody's party called UDF. So I don't know exactly how the vetting was done in ODM. Yes, you had a question.
Yes, I did have a question. Okay, you talk about the president a moment ago.
Yes.
And you're saying if he can't manage, then he should step aside.
Oh, yes.
But if he can,
yes,
if he was listening to you, Senator, tonight, what should he do? What should he do now? Should he arrest anybody, no matter how close to him, who's suspected, who he has evidence against? Should he arrest? Drag them in front of us. Drag him into court.
What he needs is just to exercise the Constitution of Kenya. If he was to exercise the Constitution of Kenya, I tell you, these things will change. I want to thank the lawyers. They did a very good job in drafting that constitution. At that time, earlier on, as we were non-legal minds, when we were supporting it politically, we had not faced the challenges. But these days, when I see a challenge comes and I go to a specific article, I find inside that draft, there was thinking that would have preempted what we are having at the moment. Yes.
Actually, I mean, the president faces a big problem in this country because this constitution has created institutions that are independent. Look at the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. The constitution has created as a constitutional commission. The president has no powers to interfere. But I have said, and I'm repeating it now, that the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, like other organs of a state, are being captured by a cartel, mafia. So what will the president do? When the president wants a place to be investigated and he says, this should be investigated, the commission's loyalty does not lie with the president or anyway, it lies with those people who put them in office. So that is the same problem, the government faced when they wanted to remove the inspector general of the police because the constitution and the law was saying, these are independent offices. So the problem lies in how we fill these offices when vacancies arise.
Oh, with these mafias still there, are they touchable?
I have said something that the president should allow the constitution to work. His supporters might think of being unfair. Let me give an actual example. There is an institution called the Senate. The Senate, following reports of the Auditor General, found that governors had questions to answer to the Senate. And repeatedly, the governors refused to come. They resorted to the judiciary and so on.
I'm their lawyer.
And their lawyers, Ahmed, Nassir included. And do you know something? Senate then made a constitutional decision that funding to those counties be withheld until they have answered those audit queries. And the recommendation was taken to the Control of Budget and the National Treasury in accordance with the provision of the Public Finance Management Act. And you know what happened? Dr. Thuge and Rotich, they just said, we cannot obey the directive of the Senate. Why should we stop funding to Kiambu, to Murang'a,
in all fairness,
to Kisumu,
in all fairness, that's the constitution.
Yes.
Because, the Senate has no powers to stop funding that has been appropriated to counties by Parliament. And that is why, that matter is in court, as you very well know.
Yeah.
But the important thing is, as he says, is that let institutions work.
Let them work.
Yes. Let them try to even to expand their territory.
Yeah.
Yes. Instead of slipping or instead of allowing third parties to capture them.
In the meantime,
yes,
billions are being siphoned off.
Exactly.
Billions are being siphoned off. I want to talk about that, gentlemen. What is the way forward? What is the solution? Because, Chicken Gate came and went. Ababu leaks will come and go. Life will go on. Another scandal will come up next week, the week after, and we'll have moved on.
The solution is
solution?
action. Action.
Fire some people.
IEBC, Isaac Hassan, the chair of IEBC, the president should have long demanded that the due process be followed for those commissions to leave office. Then people would say, this president is committed to fighting corruption. That the people who gave him money have been jailed in England, and he's in office.
But let's be fair.
That is the advocate. So, and he has come here to tell us he's fighting corruption.
No, let's be fair. You see, these are independent bodies first. The president has no powers to tell Hassan to go, just like Hassan has no powers to tell the president to go. But also, let us also contextualize Chicken Gate within the right context.
Yes.
Because these are allegations that some people have been paid. These things need to be investigated, I agree.
But people eat.
Because people always eat. But eventually, when there is proper investigation, if someone is found culpable, you charge him. But let us also not bring the politics. ODM and court normally brings that, this commission is rotten, let us replace it. It doesn't help at the end of the day.
Gentlemen, take a break. We'll come back. Before we take a break, let me read one tweet so far.
Yes.
Phil, his name is Phil. I don't know if you know him, senior counsel. Kumekucha Phil, right? He says, the best JKL show I've watched in a long time. Ask Ahmed Nassir Law to unblock me.
He knows him. And I know why you blocked him. I'm blocked all the time.
Not you.
Not by you, by others.
At Ahmed Nassir Law, at Boni Mtetezi, at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Where is Sonko's rescue team? It's getting pretty hot in here. Maybe they're still in Kajiado Central. We'll be back in a moment.